Namaste.
Namaste.
Today, I'm going to talk about the mothership. Now, there are a lot of controversy about this subject. Lots of people don't believe the mothership exists. Martha and I have a very good friend of ours who's enraged, saying, in a way, that if the mothership did exist, there wouldn't be so much suffering on this planet. That her nephew, who she loved dearly, who has gone through rounds of chemotherapy, how could this be if there were in fact a mothership? Nonetheless, the idea of a mothership has existed in one form or another throughout cultures, time, and history. The Jews, they have this Torah, which the Christians have as the first five books of the Bible. And they say they are direct descendants of the mothership, that the mothership has blessed them specifically, that they are its chosen people. The Gypsies, out of India, another hotbed of theory about the mothership, their story is they're not the chosen people, they're the damned. The Chinese, on the other side of the world, they don't have a theory about the mothership per se. In fact, the Chinese culture has no creation myth, unlike almost every other culture on the face of the earth. This does not mean that there's an absence of thought regarding what can be the mothership. They have, in a way, if you're going to go analogies, Confucius, with all this laws, with all this ways of behavior and order, translates exactly to the Old Testament, to the Torah of the Jews, the way to behave, the way to act. And the New Testament, they have a version of Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching, the way to be humble, follow life, much like the teachings of Jesus Christ. So we have all this controversy about the Mother Earth, mothership. I mean, we have the Indians, the indigenous people, and their version is, we are all the mothership. Every aspect of creation is a part of the mothership. Everything is of it, including us. And so we are born here on this planet with stories about the mothership, basically handed down to us by our belief about the mothership is almost determined solely by our familiar connection. Muslim, Buddhist, Jewish, atheist, whatever it is. Such is the controversy surrounding the mothership. I myself followed this thing out. I read a lot of this stuff. I was trying to find out if there was a mothership, if there was something going on here, what was it? And it led me to all these different incredible places and information. But what was going to really surprise me was my visitation with a mothership in prison. Prison to me was the monastery I never would have entered on my own. Hippies had a reputation, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Let me tell you, it was deserved. And monastery was not a part of it. But along with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll was the search for God, which the media never understood nor looked for. And it was there. And it was there, that search for the mothership, that I believe led me in direct contact with it in 1987. I started meditating like I never had before. There's just something about being in prison that made me meditate. One of my dearest friends came by later, and he's, works out, and we were driving along, and Martha was in the car, and he said, "Darryl, did you lift weights in prison? Did you work out?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Why didn't you?" And Martha came to my defense by saying, "Marshall, they were too heavy." But instead of lifting weights, I meditated. I meditated in a way and with a discipline I never had before. And so it probably was around 1987, 1988, something happened to me. And that something was, I didn't expect it, I wasn't looking for it, but I was in a different place, in a different state of consciousness. I remember during this time, somebody called out to me and said, "Darryl, wake up." And I heard this voice in my head, and the voice said, "I am awake. It is you who are still asleep." During this period, I wrote things that it said that came to me during this period of time. It wasn't a lot, but it was there. If it is true, and it is, that being judgmental has been like a second nature to me, the question becomes, what then is my first? The quest is to be in a world that is not what it seems to be. That is the quest. Watch out, watch out. This clay is awakening. From a battle-scarred encampment to a fountain of living waters, from one besieged by many to one now joined to all, how long it took, how quick it happened. Within, without, even if there is a difference, I'm sure we don't understand. I never expected eternity to be like this, but then again, I didn't expect time to be what it was either. I am the will's self. I said to it, to everything in particular, we are here together, you as I. All is me, you as I, it replied the next day. Seeking, searching, ending, finding, the soul's ascension, the self's release, restful knowing, the soul embracing, and I, yes, oh yes, at long last, I. And as quickly and as unexpectedly as it came, it left. And I used to wonder, why did it come to me? I mean, the stories were if you sat in a cave long enough, you would reach the state of enlightenment like Ramana Maharshi. Then he was there. I wasn't there. It left just like it came. And I used to wonder, why did this happen to me then? But I knew something profound had happened to me. The experience continued. During that time in prison, I received information of a great crisis ahead. A crisis so deep, so earth-shaking and rendering, I really didn't speak of it to almost anybody. And yet later on, in my last year in prison, I heard words that I was to write down. In times of expansion is to the hair the prize goes. Quick, risk-taking, and bold, his are the perfect attributes in those times. In times of contraction, the tortoise is favored. Quick only to retract his vulnerable head and neck. His is the wisest bet when the slow and sure is no longer preferable. It is preferable to the quick and easy. This is the time of the vulture. The vulture feeds neither upon the stored up wealth of the bear or the pastures of the bear. The vulture feeds instead upon the blind denial and ignorance of the ostrich. The time of the vulture is at hand. Those words came to me in 1991. I wrote them down. And when I made my prediction of an economic collapse, a severe economic collapse in 2007, those words led it. And 1 year later, the collapse happened. And yet the reason for my time in prison and what came to me got a little clearer this weekend with the bombings in Paris. They have been described as terror and as horror, and that they are. But I want to read you something from another manual, from the Mothership. A manual that was downloaded and channeled in the year 2000 to Christ himself. And I think he addressed what happened in Paris 2 days ago with these words. I, the Christ, have come in my love for you to make a summary of all that I perceived during enlightenment in the desert and tried to teach the Jews in Palestine 2,000 years ago. If you have read my letters, you will know it is utmost importance to your well-being to understand that while my followers created a religion they call Christianity, Christianity is a formal religion which took on many beliefs contrary to the spiritual truth of our being. As I would have you know, and take particular note, that I came to the Jews in Palestine 70 years before Jerusalem was razed to the ground. I came to the Jews to warn them that their code of conduct would be of no value to them when the future time of travail came upon them, sending them out into a hostile world. It is recorded in the gospel that I wept in despair, lamenting the fact that I would have gathered the people as chicks beneath a mother's hen's breast to protect them in their time of destruction. But the people would not heed me. Instead, their religious leaders put me to death. But after the dispersal of the Jews, when their temple was taken from them, did they learn? No. They continued in their old traditions and belief in their superiority, though repeatedly historical events have proved to them that they were subject to disasters, as were other people. At this very time, they have chosen to ignore the truths of existence as I taught them then in Palestine, and are bringing upon themselves the selfsame conditions as followed my earthly life in Palestine. This also applies to those who, through expediency, have allied themselves with the Jews because of their financial power within world financial spheres and world markets. Who is it who keeps the vast majority of the world population hungry when there is sufficient food stockpiled to feed people adequately, if profit were not the motive for existence? Given the will, financial leaders could formulate and embark on plans to distribute the surplus of goods to the underprivileged. If they were to do so, they would find the entire universe responding with blessings. World economy would flourish, and peace would become a world condition. Before this can happen, what has already been created in consciousness and by aggressive, debased actions worldwide must first be drawn into materialized human experience, not as retribution, but as a natural working of the laws of existence. These letters have been written prior to the most crucial time in your history. And when the travail and problems are truly upon you, you will wonder why I did not warn you earlier. I have to tell you, through receptive minds, that I've been trying to alert the world for the past 25 years, but neither the media, nor publishing houses, nor TV was prepared to listen. The churches who claim to believe in my existence have been as self-absorbed in their own humanly conceived religious traditions as have been the materialists. Now, at the 11th hour, when fear has descended upon the masses, they are prepared to hear my words. The doors must surely open, or again, my efforts for humanity will have been in vain. I have come to say that there will indeed be a sorting of the goats from the sheep, as has been recorded in the Gospels. The sheep refer to those souls who can peacefully receive the highest spiritual truth dispensed on earth. The goats refer to those who do not have the capacity or the willingness to listen to anyone or anything because they have a too great rebellious spirit and ignorance. This is not a punishment from on high, but a natural working out of the laws of existence. What you carry in your minds and hearts will eventually externalize in your body, life, and environment. When you resist and rebel, life offers resistance to you in your fulfillment of your desires. I have long since ascended to the highest frequencies of consciousness, vibration in the celestial kingdoms, and am divine consciousness itself individualized. My consciousness can encircle the globe to whoever calls on me. What he says in here is that he and Mohammed are speaking with the same consciousness. That he with the Jews and Mohammed with the Muslims, tried to bring them lessons of universal brotherhood, peace, and love. And yet, each culture rejected that message with the attendant consequences today. The horrors that he warned of then, 2,000 years ago, are now upon us today. And what he is saying is that this is the end times, of which much has been warned about. But what he also said, that if you have love in your heart, it matters neither whether you are an agnostic, atheist, Jew, Muslim, Buddhist, Christian, you will be safeguarded through these times that are upon us. These times are not sent to punish. They are merely the laws of existence, that whatsoever you hold in your heart, division, anger, retribution, and revenge, will be visited upon you. These are times of utmost importance, that we should focus on the love that created us and brought us into existence, irrespective of color, race, creed, religion, or belief. I want to talk about something here. It's about the Hopis. The Hopis are a very small group of people. The word Hopi itself means peace. And in the Hopi's version of the Mothership, there are stories upon stories of the end times, of the destruction of the world. The Hopi story tells them that there are a series of destructions of world, that time and time again, man turns away from God, turns to anger, war, retribution, revenge, and the earth is destroyed to start again and new. The Hopis believe that humanity is currently residing in the fourth world. And like previous worlds, this world is also prophesied to be destroyed because of the corruption of humanity. 9 signs were allegedly described by the White Feather, a Hopi elder, to Bob Frisell in 1958. These signs were later recorded in Frisell's book, Something in This Book is True. The first sign of destruction. We are told of the coming of the white-skinned men, but not living like God, men who took the land that was not theirs, and men who struck their enemies with thunder. The second sign of destruction. Our lands will see the coming of spinning wheels filled with voices. In his youth, my father saw this prophecy true come with his own eyes. The third sign. A strange beast like a buffalo but with long great horns will overrun the land in large numbers. These White Feathers saw with his eyes. The fourth sign. The land will be crossed by snakes of iron. The fifth sign. The land shall be crisscrossed by giant spiders' web. The sixth sign of destruction. The land shall be crisscrossed with rivers of stone that make pictures in the sun. The seventh sign. You will hear the sea turning black and many living things dying because of it. The eighth sign. You will see many youth who wear their hair long like my people come and join the tribal nations to learn their ways and wisdom. Some believe that these 8 signs foreshadowing the end of the world have largely been fulfilled and are references to past events. The first sign is said to be a reference to the arrival of Europeans in North America. The second is said to be a reference to the wagon and the exploration of North America by white men. Sign 3, 4, and 5 are said to signify the arrival of cattle, the construction of the railroad, and the proliferation of telephone lines. The 6th can be telescopes. The 7th, oil spills. And 8th could be modern people. There was another recent message given to the Hopi people, and it is this. the Hopi elders speak. You have been telling the people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell the people that this is the hour of hours. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relation? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. There is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift, there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they're being torn apart, and they will suffer greatly. Know the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. See who is in there with you and celebrate. At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We're here together. It is no coincidence. There is no such thing as a coincidence in this universe created by the Creator. We're all part of divine intention. We have come here through different traditions, different beliefs, different families, but we have one heart. These are the time of testing. They are also the time of great liberation that lies in front of us. If I were to say anything to you today, it is this. Know that you are loved. Know that you are loved. And love one another. These are momentous times. Namaste.
Namaste.